Engineered to go to our brains and trigger the pleasure centers, so it actually has a mood enhancing effect and an effect on our brain, which real food doesn't have. I mean, real food is very satisfying, but it doesn't give you that brain buzz and then crash afterwards. So just being aware of this, I think, is a huge first step. That if we eliminated all non-hungry eating, pretty much most obesity would be out the window. Most people would not be overweight. So it brings me back to the image. The image also represents the fact that things aren't always what they appear. Something some of you also observe. Question everything. Just because an ad says, you know, this is going to make you feel fantastic. And I know consciously we look at that and go, Snickers does not really satisfy. And we know that a Mars a day doesn't help me work, rest and play, that a Mars a day will blast my brain cells away. But if this is constantly at me, it's really hard to ignore, and it's really hard not to have that unconscious belief, I have had a hard day. I really do deserve a break. I deserve a Kit Kat. You deserve way better than that. So tonight's overarching message is learn to listen to your needs and trust what your inner guidance is telling you. And be okay with being fearful. I think the other thing that is driving non-hungry eating is an underlying fear that we're not good enough. Now, it seems like it's far removed from eating, but I think an underlying fear of I'm not good enough, I'm not doing enough, just makes us feel restless and anxious. And food is the quickest and easiest thing to just settle us down and distract us for a while. Which brings me to the fact that everything is interconnected. So our food choices, I think, are largely driven by emotional issues and negative feelings, which the survey showed, but they're also driven by other things going on in our lives. So remember, I spoke at the retreat, and it's in the book, about an iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is what we see. That's our physical life. That's how we look. That's our obvious lifestyle choices. But the iceberg is the smallest part of this picture. The part underneath, submerged under the water, is our thoughts. It's our self-talk. It's all the things we're thinking and all the decisions we're making and all the reactions we're having to things. They drive our decisions. Our self-talk and our reactions to things around us are what drive our decisions. The water around the iceberg represents our emotions. And that water is constantly in exchange with the iceberg molecules. So our emotions are constantly driving our lifestyle choices. And then the physical environment, you know, the air pollution, that is our physical environment. You know, that's the fast-paced life we live in. That's the toxins in our environment. All that influences what we eat and how we respond. And finally, the weather represents our relationships. Our relationships drive so much of our behavior because we so want to belong. And it's a question I always ask at the retreat. If you had to choose between your friends and your health, who would you choose? We always choose our friends. It's a rare person that will go against the grain and go, stuff it. I don't care that everybody else is eating something and my making a different food choice is going to make them ostracize me. It's a really, really hard thing to do. So if everybody at work is eating junk and they go, oh, come on, you're no fun. Come on, it's not going to make any difference. One piece of cake, one chocolate, one jelly bean, one this, one that. It's really hard to say no. So be aware of how our family, our community, our workmates, our friends influence our food choices as well. So that was the message of how, and whether we have a good night's sleep. You know, don't forget the impact of a poor night's sleep on elevating all the hormones that drive us to eat more. So it's about go through your life and tackle the easy things first. I have a client in Coffs Harbour, a patient in Coffs Harbour, and she started at 160 kilograms. She's now down to 130. And I said to her, so we had a little celebration yesterday. And I said to her, if somebody said to you, what's the secret of your success? Obviously, we've got further to go. And without missing a beat, she said, oh, the first thing I tell people is it's not about food. I've been working with her since September, And once a week, every week, I see her, or at least I have a video conference call with her. And probably in all that time since September, we might have had 3 conversations about food. It's all about what she's using food for. It's all about, she had a poor night's sleep and she couldn't control her eating that day. It's all about, she had an argument with her partner. It was all about, miserable day at work. It was all about, all the things that she's using food for other than satisfying hunger. So we're knocking off all those things, and then the eating just takes care of itself. Okay, how are we doing so far? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Any particular issues that have arisen? I should probably look at my chat screen. Okay, looking good. Oh, what happened? I just lost something. I lost my Zoom screen. Anyway, I hope you can see me. Got it. Sorry, I'm not very good at this. Right, so now I'm going to move on to your questions. Question number 1. How long does it take to reduce chronic inflammation? And I think this was a bit of a question around, how long do I have to wait to get results? I answered that question by saying, don't wait to get results, just do the behaviours and trust. However, I did some research on whether, has anyone looked at how long it takes to reverse things? And the news is excellent. Obviously, it depends on how much damage the inflammation has already done to your blood vessels, your liver, your pancreas, your joints, and it depends on what you're doing to reverse it. But what I've extrapolated from various studies is that you can actually reduce inflammation very quickly in as little as 2 weeks, even if it's severe. So the first study I looked at, it involved 43 obese children between the ages of 8 and 18 years. So they're obese, they were eating a lot of sugar. They were taken off all added sugar for 9 days. This was very carefully controlled so they couldn't cheat. 9 days. Would you think a lot would happen? Obviously, they didn't lose much weight in that time. But what changed? Obviously, their blood sugar levels decreased. But more importantly, what really surprised the researchers was that their blood insulin levels dropped by 1/3. That's massive. Their blood pressure improved, and a biomarker of inflammation, which is a chemical called CRP, C-reactive protein. It's an easy blood test you can ask for. But that went down significantly after 9 days of cutting out all added sugar. They could still eat fruit and veg and pumpkins and strawberries. They just weren't allowed to eat any packaged food 9 days. I think that is amazing news. In another study, they did the reverse. 29 healthy young men were made to drink, it was American, so it was 20 ounces, I Googled that, 590 millilitres of sugar-sweetened beverages. I would not have agreed to that. But anyway, 3 weeks, they had half a litre of soft drinks, and in that time, their CRP doubled. That's that inflammatory marker. And they also had a rise in their small, dense LDL. 3 weeks. Change can happen very fast in either direction. And a final study that impressed me was 70 men aged between 19 years and 74 years. They had their testosterone levels measured before and after. They were given 75 grams of sugar a day to add. So that was the equivalent of about, a small can of soft drink and a medium donut. An hour later, they had their testosterone levels measured. The result, a 25% drop in your testosterone. What we eat matters a lot, and the results are a lot more immediate than we realise, even though none of those men would have had any idea that their testosterone dropped 25%. So much happens that we're not aware of. So trust, if you're making good decisions, your body is responding positively. Final mention, and I don't recommend bariatric surgery, but bariatric surgery involving intestinal bypass, the insulin sensitivity of everyone after that surgery happens within a week, much quicker than any weight loss. So the next question in relation to that was, so what are anti-inflammatory foods? It just comes from general observations. You will Google and get, lists and lists of anti-inflammatory foods. Don't worry about the specific foods. Think of the food groups. So what's going to be anti-inflammatory? Foods high in fiber, number 1. So plants, oats, fruit, vegetables. Secondly, they have found that purple and green vegetables seem to have the most powerful anti-inflammatory effect because they have a chemical called anthocyanin in them, which is particularly anti-inflammatory. So that's your purple and greens, your beetroot, your eggplant, purple cabbage, purple sweet potato, anything that crosses your radar that's purple. And of course, green. And blueberries are purple, by the way. That's why they've been touted as having anti-inflammatory effects. Your oily fish. And if you're wondering about what fish to choose, you know, to balance the oil and the mercury, and you don't want the mercury, you do want the oil, think smash. Salmon, mackerel, anchovy, sardine, herring, S-M-A-S-H. They're your safe fish. In Australia, barramundi too is a good one. Tuna's okay too. Then you've got other sources of omega-3 fatty acids like chia seeds, walnuts, linseeds, flaxseed oil. Turmeric added to your food is a good idea, but remember to have that with black pepper or you won't absorb it optimally, and olive oil. So they are the foods I'd focus on if I wanted to reduce inflammation. The reverse, what are inflammatory foods that cause inflammation and that you need to avoid? Obviously, it's always the same answer. The added sugar, the seed oils, which we discussed at length last week, known as vegetable oils, and any and all processed food, fast food, junk food, particularly your pastries, your biscuits, your cakes. This is the commercially produced ones and anything deep fried. Okay. Next question. How much water are we supposed to drink each day? And does it include tea or coffee? Simple answer. Drink when you're thirsty. Drink before, during, or after meals. Drink whenever you feel like it. Drink enough to ensure pale pee. Drink more if you have dark urine, unless you've just eaten beetroot. Drink more if you've eaten a lot of salt. Because salt alone doesn't elevate blood pressure, it's salt minus water. So if you dilute the salt with water, you're far less likely to have an increase in blood pressure with salt. What about the research that confirms 8 glasses of water a day? There is no research that confirms you must have 8 glasses of water a day. It depends totally on your activity level, the environment, the humidity, the weather. Look, 8 glasses a day is a good thing to aim for, but don't get stressed about it. Somebody seriously just made it up. On average, we need to consume 2 to 3 litres of water a day, which is more than 8 glasses of water. But that actually includes tea, coffee, milk, soup, and the water in the food we eat. Strawberries particularly, cucumbers, watermelon, grapes, tomatoes. They are all more water than they are food. In theory, I don't recommend it, but in theory, you could get all the water you need from a diet of watermelon, cucumber, and strawberries. As I said, I don't recommend it. Now, someone's going to ask me, what about coffee, diuretic? If you drink coffee, don't you have to drink more to make up for it? Coffee does have a mild diuretic effect, but the water you lose is less than the water you take in. So coffee still has a net positive water balance effect. The only thing that is dehydrating is alcohol. That in the case of alcohol, you do flush out more than what you take in. The flip side, is it possible to drink too much? Yes, it's really rare. It's not going to happen to an ordinary human being generally, but overhydration can kill you just as dehydration can. It's happened to the 2 instances I can think of in the literature. It's happened to marathon runners because they just keep drinking and drinking and drinking. And it's not the water, it's that they dilute their sodium in their blood, and they actually die of a condition called hyponatremia, which means the salt concentration, the mineral concentration in their blood is too low. If they just keep drinking water over a, say 3-hour race, and they haven't had minerals as well. And the only other group that have died are drug cheats in sport who realise that they've taken drugs and are trying to drink enough water to dilute the drugs in their blood. A few of them have died. Okay, another question, and this followed on from the fasting questions that I had last week. What are the best times in the day to eat? Eat when you're hungry. Assuming you've had your 12 to 16 hour overnight fast, which I do highly recommend. This is really old-fashioned advice, but it's true. Eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. So even though our culture doesn't sort of lend itself, and as I said, don't be obsessive about this. I'm just saying, if you can, eat your higher carbohydrate meal in the morning, because most people, and this is genetically determined, but the majority of people are more sensitive are better able to break down carbohydrates and burn off carbohydrates in the morning. The insulin works better in the morning than it does in the evening. And studies have shown if you eat an equivalent calorie meal in the morning versus for breakfast versus for dinner, you will actually burn off more of the calories in the morning, whereas you'll burn off fewer of the calories in the evening. And it isn't just the fact that you're not going to exercise after dinner. It's the fact that it's the way our metabolism and our circadian rhythm operates. We do slow down during the day. So you're more likely to gain more fat if you have all your big meals later in the day. But it's got to fit in with your lifestyle. And if you're utterly miserable having a small dinner and a big breakfast, don't make yourself miserable. I'm just answering the minutiae in the questions. Another question was, are morning and after, sorry, just change my position a bit. Are morning and afternoon snacks completely out? I'd like to have a one-on-one conversation with who asked this. I do know who it is, but I'm going to keep it confidential. My question to you is, if you feel you need a snack, why? Is the snack genuinely about being hungry? Or is it a habit? Or is it that you need to take a break from what you're doing and that's the only excuse you can give yourself? Sometimes even feeling, if you say to me, well, actually I am always hungry, sometimes even hunger is a habit if it's a snacky thing. And my final question to you is, what happens if you don't snack? Like, are you just going to keel over? Are you going to faint? Are you going to not be able to concentrate till the meal? Or are you going to be able to last and see what happens? So my advice would be, if you're a snacker and you really struggle not to, firstly just check in with yourself. Is it a non-hungry reaching for food, or are you genuinely hungry? If it turns out that you're genuinely hungry, perhaps eat a little more for breakfast and lunch, but don't overeat. Don't eat past the 80% full. I don't want you to override. If you're going, no, I'm completely full at breakfast and lunch, the snacking just happens, it's okay. It's as long as you're not reaching for junk. So firstly, eliminate the snacking if it's not about hunger, and just sit with it and experiment. If you don't snack, what's going to happen physically, psychologically, emotionally? And I'll go into how to deal with the emotions shortly. And then the corollary to that question was, what are the best things to snack on? A handful of raw nuts is great, but I emphasize the raw. Don't buy anything that calls itself a snack food, a muesli bar, energy kick. Do not. Just your own raw nuts. Walnuts are a really good one that have been found to be satiating. But anything else that advertises itself as a snack is a calorie bomb, sugar bomb, vegetable oil bomb, and not at all satisfying. Other good snacks would be just chopped crispy vegetables, celery, radish, carrot, cucumber, a piece of fruit, a hard-boiled egg, a tub of plain yogurt, no crackers. They're not satiating, and very, very, very few of them. You've got to hunt really hard to find really healthy crackers. Next question. If you're planning to go for an early morning walk, do you have a shower and a cup of tea prior to the walk, or do you wait until you get home? My answer, what will make the walk more enjoyable for you? If you don't mind either way, then definitely walk first, because you'll get more fat burning that way. But if you're miserable going for a walk with a growling stomach, eat something first, or have a drink first, or have a cup of coffee first. If you have a cup of black coffee without milk or sugar, you'll actually get a real kick and be able to power walk. But it usually takes 60 minutes for that sort of caffeine hit to kick in. But my answer to everything is, do what is most enjoyable and satisfying for you. Whatever's going to make that walk more enjoyable. It's about quality of life. The results will take care of yourself as long as you're not doing anything obviously harmful. This was a question from last week. How can I make my kitchen less tempting? Firstly, declutter your kitchen. Keep it super neat and tidy. I've given you a short, sort of the highlights of all the studies that I've read around people's behaviour and their environment. But an uncluttered kitchen stimulates less non-hungry eating. Don't stock your kitchen with easy-to-eat options. Out of sight, out of mouth. Don't have any food visible, not even what you consider healthy food. They found that women who have cereal boxes or even oats or things that they consider healthy visible, they're just going to eat more because that food has a halo effect. As in, you think, look, that's healthy. It's okay if I eat that. It's not. If you're not hungry, just don't eat it. Make water tempting in your kitchen. So when you open your fridge, why don't you have a beautiful jar of water with some lime leaves, with some slices of strawberries. Make water tempting rather than food tempting. And a final tip, if you've got ice cream in the freezer, cover it with foil so that the ice cream doesn't say, eat me, every time you open the freezer. Just little things. Okay, then there was a big question about, this was also from last week, how can I manage menopause, weight gain and shift work? That is an incredible cocktail. And that was a participant saying, look, she's exercising more than ever, but she's eating irregularly. They're two different questions, the menopause and the shift work. So I'll do the menopause first. Firstly, menopause is a process, it's not an event. Again, what I mean by that is even though a woman's hormones drop quite very precipitously, the whole process of menopause, as in adjusting to that really sudden drop in hormones, takes an average of 7 years. For some women, 14 years. And because it goes for so long, they forget that it could be menopause. Now, you know I'm the last person to prescribe drugs. It's always my last resort. I always go for lifestyle factors first. But in the case of women in menopause who turn up and go, look, I don't know why I'm ratty, I'm depressed, I'm tired, I've got brain fog. You know, is this what aging is about? And when I take a history, if I can see that the triggering event is menopause, I will discuss a trial of hormone replacement therapy. It has had such bad press. I've looked into this because you probably haven't guessed, but you know, I'm around that age. And if I had symptoms, I wouldn't hesitate to take HRT. If I felt that and if I really felt miserable, I'd give it a trial. It will not increase your risk of breast cancer. It will not increase your risk of depression, moodiness, or anything. It will treat your hot flushes very effectively. It will help with your bones. It will. Most women that I've put it on, and as I said, I'm very selective, will go, it's given me my life back. You don't have to suffer. So this is something, I'm not prescribing it over the web. I'm just saying, if suddenly you go, you know, I'm just feeling so miserable, even if menopause was 4 years ago, it might still be menopause. Go and talk to your GP, or even get a referral to a gynecologist, somebody who's really going to listen and take you seriously and not go, you know, you're getting old, you're getting tired, you've had a hard life. It's not. So, you know, think about HRT as an option. But the only caveat is if you've had a blood clot or a heart condition, that is one thing I would look in very carefully before I gave you HRT. And the other things about menopause is that, you know, really, really, really focus on your health and making those healthy everyday choices so that you optimize the lifestyle that can help you sail through. Shift work solutions. Okay, this again is sort of a private discussion, but if you've got something in your life like shift work that you can see is impinging on your health, what could you change about that? Like, do you love the shift work? And if so, okay, work around that. But if you don't, could you change your work? I think the coronavirus has shaken us up and thought, you know what, everything's up for grabs. Everything is negotiable, including my shift work. So really ask yourself whether that is the way you want to continue your work. And if the answer is yes, then I would really invest in pre-planning so that you do eat nutritious meals. Now, I recently discovered and I sort of recently discovered while my partner was in hospital. And this is also an answer to the question somebody asked me about when I go to hospital, I'm worried about the poor quality of food. Don't get me started. I just think the food offered in public hospitals is appalling, abysmal, sends such a wrong message that food doesn't matter because they're serving you unappetizing, unhealthy, unsatisfying slop. But when my partner was in hospital, and I recommend this for shift workers, for if you're on the run, I happened to go to this was before the corona crisis. I was at the gym and he was in hospital and I had to go, and he said, look, I can't stand the food. Can you do something? Can you help me? Bring something in. I didn't have time to cook. I happened to be at the gym and I saw a fridge with My Muscle Chef meals. Now, I was ready to roll my eyes and go, yeah, I wonder what rubbish they put into this food. I was astounded. I bought 2, one for each of us. I could not find fault with any ingredient. It's called mymusclechef.com. I Googled it afterwards. You can order it for home. The only thing I'm concerned about is that the wrapping is plastic and vacuum sealed, but I cannot fault the ingredients. So it is the only processed food that I will eat. And, you know, if I'm stuck, I wish I'd have known this while my father was alive. It would have saved me a hell of a lot of cooking. They're really nutritious meals. If you find one that's dodgy, ask me. But I stood there for half an hour. The woman was saying, could you just make up your goddamn mind? You're warming everything up in the fridge, because I keep opening the fridge, taking these meals out and reading the ingredients going, I can't fault them. So for those people who are struggling to cook healthy meals on the run, mymusclechef.com. I'm going to give you 2 more healthy food options that I discovered recently. I wasn't going to plan a show and tell, but I'm going to share things that I find. Scindian vegetable and lentil burgers. Again, I can't fault the ingredients. There's nothing that I wouldn't eat in them. I can't sort of fathom why they taste so good and why they've got nothing naughty in them. Why can't people do more of these things? So, veggie and lentil burgers by Scindian. That was just from the supermarket. I haven't found mymusclechef.com from the supermarket, but I have found these. And some other favourites are, pulse pasta, if you'd like to go low carb. As I said, I'm not concerned about that. But I don't eat plain pasta because it's low fibre. It's a little bit of empty calories. So I look for all of these. Pasta made with peas, lentils, chickpeas, borlotti beans. There's pasta made with quinoa. There's pasta made with just lentils. I love it. It's got a nice flavour and it's really healthy and much higher fibre and a lower spike in your glucose and your insulin levels after you eat them. So there you go. Okay, back to the questions. So, another quick question. Does drinking ginger lemon tea break my overnight fast? Probably yes. However, it really depends on what you're trying to achieve. If your life is measurably better by having that lemon ginger tea as soon as you wake up, have it. We haven't done meticulous studies testing exactly what breaks a fast and what doesn't, because the fast has different effects on your body. One of the major reasons to fast is to give your body a break from insulin. Probably ginger lemon tea might give you a little bit of an insulin spike. Doesn't matter that much. We don't know. The other really great thing about fasting is a phenomenon called autophagy. And that is, it's like a spring cleaning. Autophagy means eating yourself. Basically, cells that are damaged, needing repair, are cleaned up, broken down, swept out. That happens during periods of not eating. So I suspect that the ginger lemon tea doesn't break the autophagy. And that to me is an equally important reason to fast. The other reason we fast is because it allows good gut bacteria that feed off the mucus in our intestines to proliferate. I don't think ginger lemon tea would disrupt our bacteria too much, but I don't know. I'm really just guessing here. So the short answer is, if you want to be a perfectionist about it, yeah, probably drinking ginger lemon tea will break your overnight fast. Does it really matter? I don't know. And again, I would err on the what's going to give me greater enjoyment in life. If you can take it or leave it, if you can delay it, delay it. Okay. Another complex question, but it will answer a lot of people's questions, I think, and it addresses the non-hungry eating. How can I stop myself from eating in the middle of the night when I can't fall asleep? I use food to treat my insomnia, and my night eating undermines my good eating during the daytime. How do you overcome that? I'm going to step back before I answer that directly and say that there are 4 things that will make it less likely that you comfort eat in the first place. If you can do these 4 things, they will revolutionize your life on every level. And they're nothing to do with food. So check in with yourself. 1, how often do you say yes when you'd actually rather say no? The more often you say yes when you mean no, the more likely you're going to need some kind of comfort and compensation at some point later in the day or the week. So, point number 1, don't say yes when you mean no. Number 2, don't be ashamed of your weaknesses. Don't fear your weaknesses, because sometimes our weaknesses lead to our greatest strengths and our greatest growth and our greatest striving. We all have weaknesses. Just be there with your weakness. It's okay. Thirdly, don't avoid difficult conversations. That can eat us up from the inside. That is one of the main things that causes people to stuff down their emotions. If you can have that conversation, have it out, you won't need to comfort eat. I'm not saying it's the be all and end all, but it can make a really big difference. Have difficult conversations. It just releases so much energy. It's sort of an emotional spring clean. And fourthly, don't hold back your unique perspective. This is a little bit like matching the don't be ashamed of your weaknesses. Equally, be proud of your uniqueness. That's why you're here. That's your contribution to the people around you. That doesn't mean being argumentative or dogmatic. It just means it's okay to have a different perspective. It's okay to follow your own drum. It's okay to do things when people go, are you mad? You can't quit your job. You'll never succeed at your hobby. Do what lights your fire. So they are just those four things, and I'm happy to send them to you in a summary, that reduce the incidence of non-hungry eating in the first place. With regard to, okay, say you're insomnia, say you've got that urge to eat and you're not hungry, you can't fall asleep, it's what you've always done, but you can apply this to anything. And I am just about finished. I know we're over time, but I'm just about there. And then as I said, I'm going to finish with a really quick exercise for you to do over the coming month. This is about breaking an unwanted habit. I want you to think of something now, or if you can't think of it now, when it happens. Firstly, whenever you have the urge to do something that you know is not healthy, reaching for that snack, that really unhealthy snack, reaching for food in the middle of the night, firstly, just label it as a brain circuit that's fired off in a habitual way. It's not a personal weakness. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just once there's a brain circuit is stuck, it's like a record just playing over and over, or even a CD just stuck on that. That's what your brain is doing with a negative habit. So one, label it. It's a brain circuit firing. Secondly, get curious about how it feels. How does this brain circuit feel if I don't actually give into it and just sit there and feel it? Just sit with the discomfort. Don't have a conversation with yourself about it. You've identified it. You've got curious about it. Now feel it. Third step is know that you can dismantle the circuit. Get excited about it. And fourthly, think warm and fuzzy. When you get that urge, one of the quickest ways to dismantle it is bring to mind something that's going to make you feel good. It's a form of distraction, but at the same time, you're going to get a release of dopamine. If you think about something that makes you feel good, a great holiday, your honeymoon, playing with your child, your grandchild, something that makes you feel good. Occupy your mind. you'll find that the urge goes away. Or you can soothe yourself with your own self-talk. Just tell yourself it's okay that this is happening. Even if it takes me longer to fall asleep because I'm not giving into it, it's okay. This is not going to last forever. How long does it take to break or make a habit? Unfortunately, it's not 21 days. Well, it could be 21 days. They didn't actually test this theory. Somebody else made that up as well. You can read that in one of my Healthy Bites. I recently talked about it on the radio. They finally did a study in the year 2000. They tested a heap of people on how long it took to make or break a habit. There was a huge range from 18 days if it was something simple to 254 days, i.e. 8 months if it was something really complex. But the average was 66 days. 2 months. So it's not going to last forever, even if the worst case, 8 months is a long time to put up with someone, but to put up with something. But if you're making a concerted effort to just feel that discomfort, it will dissipate. It won't last 8 months. And the final question, 2 more questions, but I can answer them quickly. Slimming and surgery. I got a question saying, okay, last week you mentioned don't fast when you're having surgery, but so many websites go, yes, still fast when you're having surgery. I don't mind the overnight fast, but with surgery, you burn through your protein. I can remember decades ago, we had a patient die in hospital because we didn't feed her enough after surgery. Now, this is nobody's fault. She was a very large lady. People thought, oh, it doesn't matter if she's not eating. What we didn't know was that she'd actually been dieting and already lost 20 kilos before surgery. Her body was depleted of protein and she went into what's known as a catabolic state, and the healing, the wounds, the whole process, the healing churns through your protein, and a lot of people lose a lot of muscle, especially if it's major surgery. I do not recommend fasting, even though I have read so many blogs that go, I fasted and I broke through my surgery in days. This is bodybuilders who have muscle to burn, not the rest of us who don't. So no, I definitely don't recommend any fasting during surgery. You will lose weight even if you eat normally. And, get my muscle chef meals delivered to you and just heat them up in the hospital because they're going to be a whole lot better. And a lot of them have high protein. You also want to eat a lot of fiber, more fiber than usual, because people often get constipated with surgery with anesthesia. But the main message is, please don't fast, and don't even be religious about your overnight fast. Eat when you're hungry, definitely. Final question was around the thyroid. I can answer that, but I will answer that next month if you really want me to. But if you're worried about your thyroid, how does it work? Why is it overactive? Why is it underactive? May happens to be Thyroid Awareness Month, so there's going to be a lot of stuff on in the media, and really good information can be found at the Australian Thyroid Foundation website, which is just thyroidfoundation.org.au. So I'll stop there because we've gone over time, and I just want to leave you with your little fun practice for next month. But before I do, I'm just going to see if there's any chats that anything I need to look at or answer.
No, we're all good, Helena. Everything's fine there.
Okay. Can I have a thumbs up if this was useful? And yeah.
Awesome.
Great. Okay. Right. So get a pen and paper if you like, but I'm also very happy to send this to you in an email. But it's very simple. It's very simple. 5 steps. Start with, what is a positive health habit that you want to adopt, that you want part of your life? What is one? Let me give you some examples. You want to meditate every day. You want to exercise every day. You want to eat more vegetables. You want to cook more from scratch. You want to ask yourself if you're really hungry. You want to visualize. What is one habit that you want to be part of your life? Second question. Why do you want to take up this habit? So you don't have to answer everything now, but what are some specific benefits, and can you get excited about it? Thirdly, now what is the first step in executing this habit? Now I'm going to give you an example that's probably one of the most common. I want to exercise every day. Okay, let's be specific about that. And I'm going to tell you what I did decades ago to get me into it. I was already doing the aerobic stuff, but I wasn't doing any strength training. So I wanted to get into strength training, and I would have rather watched paint dry. Like, the idea of going to the gym lifting weights was just not something I wanted to do. But what was the smallest thing I could break it down to was that I could do easily. So this is what I want you to do. Break your habit down into the smallest, easiest component. I thought push-ups, one push-up off my toes every day would be a good start. Now, I couldn't even do that. So I started, my first habit was one push-up against the wall. Now, it sounds ridiculous every day. The idea is to initiate the habit, not the end result, so that you habituate the behavior. So it's got to be so simple that you cannot fail. That there's absolutely no way you can't do it, even if you're sick as. You can always do a push-up against the wall. So that's what I did. And then what happened? One push-up against the wall got pretty easy, pretty quick. No, sorry, before I go into that, what are you going to do it after? What's another habit that you do every day that you'll do it immediately after? Brushing your teeth, but making your bed. For me, the best thing was, as soon as I got out of bed, like that's something I do every day. As soon as I got out of bed, I had a sign on the wall that said, sign on my door that said push up. Okay. But it doesn't have, just something that you do every day that you immediately will remind you to do your habit. So push up against the wall. It was just a no-brainer. Very quickly, that one push up against the wall went to 10 push-ups against the wall. Then, but you just never take it beyond what is simple to do. That one push-up on the wall then slowly progressed to, push up from my knees off the floor, then push up off my toes off the floor. But I went back to just one push-up. And then it's up to you when you want to add another one and another one and another one. And so now my baseline is, if I'm feeling really bad and not in the mood, I'll do a minimum of 21 push-ups. That's phenomenal for somebody who thought that one push-up against the wall was hard work. And then that has got you going. So then I've slowly added other things to that. So after that 21 push-ups, I'll do more if I feel like it. But after that 21 push-ups, I'll do dips, I'll meditate, and I'll do chin-ups because I've got a chin-upper. But can you see how once you've got that one thing habituated, you just keep adding more slowly. But between now and next month, all I want is that you do that first step, e.g., one push-up against the wall every day, and you tick it off. You tick it off on your calendar so that you remind yourself. So the message is, all I want you to do is to habituate the behavior. Make it so you cannot fail. And next week, we'll talk about it and build on it. Okay, I apologize. I have gone over time.